even if we're not necessarily trading based off of our information, it costs us millions of dollars a year to run a platform like Arkham.
These whales just bought over $200 million of ETH. One tweet from Arkham. Next tweet. This guy bought 9 figures of ETH yesterday.
Sort of building out this directory, like the yellow pages of crypto addresses, and they were using it and kind of selling that data. When you guys are building this out, you're kind of open sourcing it for the culture.
Welcome back to the Rollup. We are your hosts. I'm Andy.
I'm Robbie, and this is your home to learn from the biggest guests, the brightest minds at the tip of innovation.
Our goal is to help spread the collective knowledge of everyone in our community.
We are breaking crypto out of its echo chamber and taking it to the real world.
Miguel, welcome to the show. Good to have you, man. We've got you at the state of on-chain intel at Arkham. I gotta ask, do you have some investigative forensics background? Are you just a very curious person? How did you come to the idea of like, look, I want to start this company where we just open up this, what they call actually the dark forest in Ethereum land to everybody. Kind of give us some of your background, what inspired you to start Arkham, and then we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I don't come from a forensics background, though. Given everything that we've built so far, now I kind of do. The reality is, when I was in the crypto space previously, working on a stablecoin project, I faced a lot of the same issues that people have today in terms of what they want to see out of the blockchain. So that means actually wanting to know, for example, what the major players in crypto are doing. That means market makers, institutional funds, hedge funds, whales, etc. You want to see what they're doing, and you want to know what's actually going on, who's buying, who's dumping. These are sort of like the forever questions of the crypto space. The same questions that people were asking 10 years ago, they ask today. They want to know what's going on in exchanges. Is my money there? Is it not? Are people buying my coin? Are they not? And are things going to go up or down? These are kind of like fundamental, never-ending questions of crypto. And so the question before was, how do you do that? How do you actually know what's going on? And for me, the key was looking at the on-chain information. Obviously, many people can go on an exchange, try to look at the order book, understand what's going on. They can look at the news, they can look at social media, but really the footprint of the patterns of movement of crypto are all recorded on the blockchain and will be forever. And all of the information about what has ever happened on chain is recorded forever, which means that we are able to take it, analyze it, and then produce very useful information and insights for the world to be able to use. And so that's what we decided to do. And that was born out of my own need for the services that we ended up creating ourselves.
Introducing SummerFi, one of DeFi's oldest and most battle-tested platforms. SummerFi automates your exposure to DeFi's highest quality yield, so you can sit back and enjoy this summer. Deposit stablecoins at USDC or USDT and let SummerFi route your funds into optimized, low-risk lending strategies. With over 100 million in instant liquidity and support for over 34 protocols across Ethereum, Arbitrum, and more, you always stay in control. Choose from a wide range of curated strategies reviewed by independent risk experts, all in just a few clicks. So why work hard for your yield when you can be lazy? Start earning now at summer.fi, the home of the lazy summer protocol. Yeah, all of us, if you've been around in 2017-ish, even into like the 2020 era, it was very much like block explorer based, right? There was some kind of these like data companies, but it was very, very, very like you're going to be looking through hashes and clicking different buttons and tracking things. And now we've got a whole, I think like the big change was like this visual mapping, like rather than like numbers and letters and amounts, like putting these things into like visual like mappings, I think completely changed the way and like the ability for people to actually like understand how blockchains work, and then also
Absolutely.
kind of like what's happening under the hood.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually, to put it into perspective, I think that we have gone through several different iterations of data analytics in the crypto space. I think in the very beginning, there was none. right? So you had to actually go on chain, run your own infrastructure or node, and then read the raw information that was coming off of each block in order to understand what was going on. As you accurately pointed out, let's call that kind of a V0.
Yeah.
I think V1 was then kind of like the, blockchain.com for Bitcoin, Etherscan, of course, for Ethereum, and all of the Etherscan derivatives for the different types of networks and layer ones that exist that are sort of EVM based. Or even not in some cases, like in SolScan. And that was kind of V1 where, without needing to run your own node, you can just look at a website, and you have the ability to look at what's on chain, but without any labels. So you're just looking at the raw information of what address sent to which other address and how much did they send denominated in the cryptocurrency itself. Later on, obviously, they then started to add pricing. So then you can see, oh, okay, this guy sent $10,000, but you have no idea who any of the people are.
Yeah.
I think we then kind of pioneered the new era of data analytics for blockchain in particular, where then we introduced this idea of being able to search for activity by name of an individual or an institution or an exchange without necessarily needing the address. To use something like an Etherscan, you would need to have the contract address. You would need to have, the 0x or the transaction hash, something to, some sort of grain to start with in order to get what you're looking for. With Arkham, I can just start with a name or with a token and slowly unravel all of the information that I need and that I'm looking for, without even needing a head start or any kind of hunch or inkling of what's going on, let alone a transaction hash or an address. So we actually enable people to be able to go both ways. You can go address to name in order to identify what's going on, or you can start with the name and then look at all the addresses. And so I think we kind of made it significantly more user-friendly, significantly more accessible, and way more free for people to be able to actually understand what's going on chain without necessarily needing to be ultra sophisticated or already know what they're looking for.
Well, that's me, left curve tapping in, who is grateful for products like Arkham. Nice hat, by the way. That's a sick hat. So why don't we talk about what's actually happening on chain then? I mean, like what else would we do here? These whales just bought over $200 million of ETH. One tweet from Arkham. Next tweet. This guy bought 9 figures of ETH yesterday. Okay. Former ETH billionaire, 7 siblings, is selling ETH. So it seems like a lot of the activity right now on chain in terms of size and scale is on Ethereum. You guys have been tracking a lot of these ETF flows. I think a lot of these DAT flows. Maybe let's start there. What has been the process like for tracking these treasury companies? How are you seeing those play out? Is there any that are more concentrated than others in terms of like wallets, or is there anything that you've seen that is a bit more maybe like sophisticated than others? Kind of walk us through some of the treasury company happenings that you guys are following, specifically with ETH and some of these others, and just kind of what you're seeing from the deep, lens of being on chain.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a bunch of stuff going on chain right now. Obviously, we had that tweet about Vitalik becoming a billionaire again, which people thought was pretty funny.
Those
so
always
back.
go viral.
Yeah, exactly. Aside from this, you're right that there's a lot of activity now going on in the treasury space. Obviously, we started out, kind of focusing on Bitcoin because those are the ones that were most kind of popular to begin with. But now the Ethereum ones are the ones that are getting the most traction. And to be honest, I think that a lot of the information that we use in order to track those is actually coming from, just being able to look on chain at who the people who are making the largest transactions are in general, sort of period. Because in a period of 1 week or in the time span of, a couple of days, it is really unlikely that there would be, so much movement of Ethereum, on chain. It is really unlikely that an individual out of nowhere will just go and purchase, 500 million, 600 million, 900 million of a particular cryptocurrency that quickly. It's super unlikely. And so I think in general, what we're looking for is very abnormal movements of large amounts of cryptocurrency on chain in a pattern that actually matches these kind of treasury company or reserve movements. And these are patterns of accumulation that are different from the types of movements that you would see from a market maker, for example, or from a trading firm, or even from an individual whale who's trying to accumulate cryptocurrency. They're very different. And so once you start to detect and look at all of these different patterns, you start to become aware of, okay, this wallet looks like it belongs to an exchange. This wallet looks like it belongs to a market maker. This wallet looks like it belongs to some other kind of trading firm. And whenever these types of wallets do XYZ, that actually means that it's a treasury company. And so this is something that we've also kind of learned and over time begin to track. And we see more and more of them coming online. And then based on their public reporting or information that exists about them online, we are then able to say, oh, this is, X treasury company because they have, ABC filings, or they've said this particular type of information online, which matches the behavior which we're seeing on chain. So that's generally the way in which we kind of go about the identification generally of the type of wallet that we're looking at and the kind of on-chain activity that we're looking at, and then how we specifically then say, okay, this is that type of treasury company, or this is this particular one.
There is I remember back, I think it was Chainalysis back in 2020 was sort of building out this directory, like the yellow pages of crypto addresses, and they were using it and kind of selling that data. When you guys are building this out, you're kind of open sourcing it for the culture, right? And so
yes.
I'm curious, like, you guys are
open sourcing that subscription cost, but yeah, for the culture of Miguel's business, right?
Well, actually, for most people, the platform is just free. You can just go on and use Arkham as much as you want without needing to pay anything. So a lot of it has been kind of, we'll monetize it kind of downstream of all of the positive, net benefits that come from, producing a product like Arkham and giving it up to the world.
This is kind of what I was getting at, though, is like the monetization strategy here. You guys are kind of price, subscription gating, kind of like the more valuable insights, if you will, or downstream of the free version. Are you guys also like putting your own money at stake and like putting your money where your mouth is when it comes to this intelligence and kind of like taking some trades back and forth based on some of the insights that you gain?
Well, to be honest, in that sense, no, we don't actually trade ourselves as a company, or me as an individual. I'm not really a crypto trader. I'm more kind of, focused on actually providing the infrastructure, and then you can use our data for whatever you want, which is a whole bunch of different reasons. Some people use it for trading, some people use it for compliance, some people use it for investigations and research and due diligence. And, there's a whole kind of menu of reasons why somebody would want to use the Arkham Intelligence platform. That being said, we are still putting our money where our mouth is, where, even if we're not necessarily trading based off of our information, it costs us millions of dollars a year to run a platform like Arkham, right? We need to hire engineers. We spend money on compute. We spend money on data storage. There's a number of different things that mean that, we have expenses related to every single chain that we decide to integrate, and all of the work that actually goes into, labeling all of these different types of wallets. It's not free. And so in that sense, the business is investing money into making sure that the information is accurate, because if the information is not accurate, or we suck as a product, people will stop using it. And so we don't get any value back. Whereas now we're getting value in the form of community, in the form of brand, and in a bunch of these other kinds of really interesting ways, where now we've become one of the major players in crypto with respect to kind of being a source of truth that people trust and go to in the industry to figure out what's going on. And again, downstream of that, now that we have kind of grown as a company, we've just become one of the main places that people go for information. And so obviously that has a bunch of positive benefits.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I imagine that the customer base has varied, right, from individuals to organizations. I actually had an old college friend hit me up and
Yeah.
say, this was like 2 days ago. He texted me. He's like, "Yo, what do you think about Arkham?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't have a sub, but I know it's solid and it's good." He's like, "Oh, well, my company is subscribed to it." I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, that's
nice.
cool." So like, I imagine that
Absolutely.
you guys have like a varying customer base, right? And
Yes.
then I also imagine that, and I've seen that you guys have taken like AI, right, and like integrated AI into the product as well,
Yep.
for a variety of use cases, as well as launched perps and kind of like a trading platform, which I imagine the thought was like provide information, give people a idea, allow them to trade on it, same platform. Similar thought. What is next for Arkham? What are the next features that people want? What is the next way that you want to launch a different vertical of business? What can you share with us for what's coming down the pipe?
Absolutely. So I think in terms of kind of immediate changes and things that we're intending to add and do, we are currently building out a mobile app, which will be very helpful for a bunch of people in crypto who obviously don't necessarily use or even own computers, right? There are a number of people, especially in Southeast Asia, who, they don't necessarily have a, high-powered laptop or desktop where they're doing this research and trading. It's all just happening on their phone. And so imminently, we intend to launch a mobile app, which I think will be very helpful for people, and people have been asking for that for a very long time. We're intending to additionally launch a DEX. So we will
Sick.
be adding more kind of decentralized trading capabilities to the Arkham platform generally, which will allow people to obviously have significantly more access to tokens without necessarily going through a kind of centralized process, right? They can just access whatever exists on the blockchain, and it's more in keeping with the nature of the crypto ecosystem, that people will have significantly more freedom with respect to what assets they decide not just to research, but also to trade, swap, or whatever it is they want to do with them. So that's also super promising. And coming down the pipeline, additionally, we're obviously still continuing to work on new AI products. We launched our AI Insights feature a couple of weeks back, which has been a hit and people really like. And this is just, again, a way for people who, being even a bit lost or not necessarily knowing what they're looking for, being able to come in and actually get information about what's going on chain directly from the platform, based on signals of things that are either abnormal or really interesting or very large, in a way that is automated, such that people can then go and then Arkham itself can give you a crumb, a string to tug on, to then begin unraveling more of a story of what's going on chain. And then from there, maybe the investigation gets interesting. You come up with a trading thesis, or it just kind of generally allows you to understand more about what's going on in any of these crypto ecosystems.
Introducing Extended exclusively on Starknet, a next-gen perps trading platform live today. With 50 plus trading pairs from crypto to TradFi, you get the best experience on chain today. Deposit in the community vault for attractive returns and engage in a fully unified experience for spot trading, lending, and perps trading. Exclusively live at extended.app on Starknet today.
Miguel, I got maybe a long shot. Like, is there, obviously we talked about, institutions, retail buying, selling ETH. That's a lot of the on-chain activity happening right now. In recent weeks, is there any information or intelligence that you've gained through Arkham that has kind of flown under the radar? Like, maybe didn't really get picked up too much, and it was kind of an insight that piqued your interest, but the rest of the community, for whatever reason, kind of didn't really focus on it too much?
To be honest, all of the stuff that we find, even remotely interesting, we post online.
Yeah.
Like anything that we think like, hey, this is cool or this is worth looking at. Even if, you can kind of think about our content strategy and what we've put online into a few different buckets. Obviously, there's the stuff that everyone's talking about that's super interesting. Like, okay, Bybit just got hacked, whatever. That's the kind of thing everyone's going to be talking about it. It's going to be all over the news. We're just providing supplemental info in a way that is already kind of being talked about and people have already chimed in on, and we're just tagging along, right? And those are the kind of blockbuster sort of viral stories. Then there's the stuff that is actually produced by us without any kind of external source. So, for example, we posted about that hack that we discovered, which we think is the largest theft in human history of Bitcoin from a Chinese miner.
Yeah.
And we posted that, I think it must have been 10 days ago or close to 2 weeks ago at this point. And that was something that we discovered on our own, broke that story. And, you know, it took off. It was viral. It probably has like 1 million views on it or something like that. But it's something that came organically from us without an external kind of source coming onto it. And so those are kind of interesting. And then we have the much smaller stories, which are just interesting things on chain. You know, this guy got sniped, or this person, you know, sold X amount of ETH, or, you know, Y person is currently underwater on their trades on this, you know, perp dex or something. And those are, you know, those are also quite interesting. But generally speaking, our strategy has always been to share as much as possible of what we find kind of interesting within the space without necessarily holding anything back. And most of the time, it ends up getting some attention.
Man, I think that having the ability to use on-chain data as a process for what you're trying to do in the space when it comes to investing, trading. I mean, it's not even an edge anymore, but it's just like an additional step of process to like be looking at tracking wallets, be looking at what people are doing. You know, and I think that what you guys have built is going to keep kind of scaling into this full intelligence platform for, you know, for probably nation states around the world, big corporations, family offices, et cetera. So, you know, I think you're probably scratching the surface of that now. And I encourage you just to keep pushing that forward, and would love to have you on again in the next couple of months, closer to the end of the year maybe, and see
Absolutely.
where we're at, and see if we can try to figure out in this mania phase that we're kind of in, kind of what the whales are doing on chain.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.